Hello friends, myself Professor Parth Thakkar from LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. In today's session, we will learn first effectiveness of heat exchanger, then we will learn NTU method for parallel flow heat exchanger. So let's start with effectiveness of heat exchanger. We previously learned a LMTD method for parallel flow heat exchanger and counter flow heat exchanger. What was LMTD? It is a logarithmic mean temperature difference. In previous session, we derived equation for that, which is Q is equal to UA theta M, where U was overall heat transfer coefficient, area A is equal to area of heat exchanger, and theta M is LMTD, logarithmic mean temperature difference. In equation of theta M, there is inlet and outlet temperature of the fluid. So where inlet and outlet conditions are specified, where inlet and outlet temperature are predefined, at that time the design of heat exchanger, it easily can done by LMTD method. But when problem is to determine the inlet or outlet temperature for a particular heat exchanger, then analysis performed more easily by method which is based on effectiveness of heat exchanger and a number of transfer unit. So we need to understand first what is effectiveness of heat exchanger. As the word suggests, effectiveness, how effective our equipment or our heat exchanger is. It's a simple definition is effectiveness of heat exchanger is a ratio of actual heat transfer which happens in heat exchanger to the maximum possible heat transfer for the heat exchanger, which is Q by Q max. Q is equal to actual heat transfer and Q max maximum possible heat transfer for the particular heat exchanger. Let's make it more simplified. Q is the actual heat transfer. We know that for any heat exchanger, actual heat transfer can be count. Actual heat transfer is a heat loss by the hot fluid, or we can say that heat gain by the cold fluid. This is the actual heat transfer whichever takes place in a heat exchanger. So whatever heat loss by the cold fluid, the change in internal energy we can find out by MC delta T. For hot fluid we can write that MH, mass flow rate, CPH, specific heat, and temperature difference, which is TH1 minus TH2, TH1 inlet temperature of hot fluid and TH2 outlet temperature of hot fluid. Similarly, we can write for the cold fluid heat gain by the cold fluid, so that change in internal energy we can write by MC delta T, MC mass flow rate, CPC specific heat of cold fluid, and delta T temperature difference, TC2 minus TC1, because outlet temperature of cold fluid is higher than the inlet temperature of cold fluid. So by using this equation or this equation, we can find out the actual heat transfer which takes place in the heat exchanger. So now, what is Q max? It is a maximum heat transfer possible for a heat exchanger. Here, if we want to make more simplify this equation, then we know that the combined product of mass flow rate and specific heat is known as the heat capacity, which can be denoted by CH for the hot fluid and denoted by the CC for the cold fluid. So we can rewrite this equation in more simple way, like CH TH1 minus TH2 and CC TC2 minus TC1. Now let's look for what is Q maximum. So Q maximum is a maximum possible heat transfer for any heat exchanger. We know that the maximum possible temperature change can be achieved only by one fluid, either by cold fluid or by hot fluid, depending upon the heat capacity of the hot and cold fluid. So the Q maximum will be either CH TH1 minus TC1 or CC TH1 minus TC1. Why there is a TH1 and TC1? Because this is the maximum temperature difference which any heat exchanger have. TH1 is a maximum inlet temperature and TC1 is a minimum inlet temperature. TH1 is a maximum temperature value among the 4 temperature values, and Tc1 is the minimum value of the temperature among the 4 values. So this is the maximum possible temperature difference any heat exchanger can have. So this is the maximum temperature difference with minimum specific heat. So minimum heat capacity, so either it is Ch or Cc, whichever is a minimum. So Q maximum is minimum of these two values. So we can write that Q maximum is equal to C minimum. So either it is Ch or Cc, it depends on the value of heat capacity of cold fluid and hot fluid. Whichever is the minimum value will become C minimum, and the temperature difference will always Th1 minus Tc1. This is the maximum temperature difference of the heat exchanger. So the effectiveness is equal to Th1 minus Th2, which is Q for the hot fluid. This is Q for the cold fluid. Both are same. So here we can write Cc Tc2 minus Tc1 upon Q maximum. So Q maximum will be C min Th1 minus Tc1, C min Th1 minus Tc1. So this is the effectiveness of the heat exchanger. Once the effectiveness is known, then we can easily find out the Q by this equation, that effectiveness is equal to, here we can put Q divided by C min Th1 minus Tc1. So Q is equal to effectiveness into C min Th1 minus Tc1. So here you can see that we only need inlet temperatures, Th1 inlet temperature of hot fluid and Tc1 which is inlet temperature of the cold fluid. So once the inlet temperature, which is practically known for us, the effectiveness and the minimum heat capacity of hot fluid or cold fluid, then we can find out heat transfer rate for our heat exchanger. So this is the effectiveness. Now let's understand what is NT, what is number of transfer unit for a parallel flow heat exchanger. In a previous session we have learned what is parallel flow heat exchanger. So it is a heat exchanger where the direction of flow of hot fluid as well as cold fluid is the same. So here we can see that from the flow arrangement that the direction of flow for the hot fluid and cold fluid are the same. From this flow arrangement, if we draw temperature versus area diagram, where Th1 is the inlet temperature of hot fluid, Th2 is the outlet temperature of hot fluid, Tc1 is the inlet temperature of cold fluid, and Tc2 is the outlet temperature of cold fluid. From the figure we can see that as we are moving from the outlet direction, the temperature of hot fluid decrease gradually and the temperature of cold fluid increase gradually. We have already discussed this diagram in our previous LMTD session, so we are not going to in detail for this diagram. We know that the inlet temperature difference is denoted by theta1, which is Th1 minus Tc1, outlet temperature difference which is denoted by theta2, which is Th2 minus Tc2. First, let's again take a simple elementary strip whose area is dA, and the heat exchange dq through this elementary area is written as dq is equal to U, overall heat transfer coefficient, because it involves more than one mode of heat transfer. So U, overall heat transfer coefficient, into area, this dA, and temperature difference delta T. So here there is an unknown temperature, so let's write Th for the hot fluid and Tc for the cold fluid. So the temperature difference at this point is Th minus Tc. Give this is equation number 1. We also know that the dq for the hot fluid and cold fluid, as hot fluid lose some heat to the cold fluid, so there is a change in internal energy for the both fluid, which we can calculate by the equation mc delta T. For hot fluid it's mh cph dth, for cold fluid mc cpc dtc. Why there is a minus sign in front of hot fluid? Because from the figure we can see that there is a temperature in decreasing as we are moving towards the outlet for the hot fluid, and temperature is continuously increasing for the cold fluid. So there is minus sign in front of a hot fluid because its temperature is continuously decreasing as we are moving to the outlet. We can write mh into cps combined as a heat capacity Ch and mc cpc heat capacity of cold fluid Cc. From this equation number 2 we can write down that dTh is equal to minus dq by ch and dTc is equal to dq by cc. Now dTh minus dTc is equal to minus dq by ch and minus dq by cc. dTh minus dTc we can combinedly write it as a theta, because th minus tc is equal to theta as mentioned in the diagram. Now minus dq take as a common, so in bracket 1 upon ch plus 1 upon cc. Substituting the value of dq from the equation, we know that the from equation value of dq is u dA th minus tc. Instead of th minus tc we can write theta, so dq is equal to u dA theta. So here in place of dq we have written u dA theta in bracket 1 upon ch plus 1 upon cc as it is. Put this theta upon d theta, so d theta by theta minus u dA as it is. Now integrating this equation, because we have considered a small elementary area dA. Now if we want to calculate for the whole heat exchanger, then we need to integrate. So for theta, which is a temperature difference, we from the figure we can see that the inlet temperatures are Th1 Tc1 and outlet temperature are Th2 and Tc2. So to integrate the value of d theta, we have to put limit 1 to 2, inlet temperature to the outlet temperature, and for the area it's 0 to a. Here where we have start, it's a area we consider 0, and when we travel complete heat exchanger, the area will be capital A. So integration limit is 0 to a for the area. 1 upon something is the log of something, and upper limit is 2 and lower limit is 1. So ln theta 2 minus ln theta 1, which will give ln theta 2 by theta 1. Here there is a 1, so upper limit is a minus 0, it will be a, so minus u into a 1 upon ch plus 1 upon cc as it is. We know that from the figure that theta 2 is a temperature difference at the outlet, which is th2 and th2 minus tc2, and theta 1 is a th1 minus tc1. So putting that value instead of theta 2 and theta 1, we get this. Now from here, if we take ch as a common, in bracket we have 1 plus ch by cc. If we have to remove this log, this natural log ln, then this term will be e raised to minus u upon ch in bracket 1 plus ch by cc. Gives this as a equation number 3. Now as we have just learned, the effectiveness of heat exchanger can be written as this equation, as we just explain what is effectiveness. So from this equation we can write down th2 is equal to th1 minus epsilon c minimum th1 minus tc1 upon ch, and by this equation we can write out for tc2 is equal to tc1 plus epsilon c minimum th1 minus tc1 upon cc. So in our equation 3, putting this value of th2 and tc2, this is our equation number 3. Now instead of th2 we have to write down this whole term, instead of tc2 we have to write down this whole term. So 1 upon th1 minus tc1 will be out of the bracket. Instead of th2 write this whole term, minus instead of tc2 write down the value of tc2 from here. So this is the value of tc2, we can see. Due to minus, this sign will be minus from the plus. Now we can see that here the is equal to, this term will be same in exponential, this term will be same. Now from this we can see that there is a th1 minus tc1 which will be common. So if we put th1 minus tc1 common, here th1 minus tc1, here th1 minus tc1, this is th1 and this is tc1. So if we put th1 minus tc1 in out of bracket, then we will get 1 minus epsilon c minimum, which is also common, epsilon c minimum in bracket 1 upon ch minus 1 upon cc. In bracket 1 upon ch minus will plus, so 1 upon ch plus 1 upon cc. is equal to this term will remain as it is. Okay, now here we can see that we have transferred this term into this place, and we have transferred this exponential term into this side of is equal to. So after this, put epsilon is equal to this term will be upon of this term. So epsilon will become is equal to 1 minus exponential of minus UA by CH in bracket 1 plus CH by CC upon C minimum 1 upon CH plus 1 upon CC. Now we have two conditions. Either the heat capacity of cold fluid is greater than heat capacity of hot fluid, or heat capacity of cold fluid will greater than heat capacity of cold fluid. We will understand for the both of the condition. Let's take condition number 1, that our CC heat capacity of cold fluid is greater than the CH heat capacity of hot fluid. As we have already discussed that whichever heat capacity is smaller in value, it will become C minimum. So here CH is minimum than CC, so instead of CH we can write C minimum, and instead of CC we will write C maximum. So in this equation, replace CH with C minimum and replace CC with C maximum, then we will get this equation. Now if we multiply this C minimum into the bracket, we will get 1 plus C minimum by C maximum. Give this equation a number 4. Now in this equation, if CC is less than CH, then we will put instead of CC C minimum and C maximum instead of CH. In this equation, instead of CH C maximum and instead of CC C minimum, then our equation will look like something this. Okay, now we have, if we write UA upon C minimum, then we have to also multiply by C minimum, and this C maximum is as it is in bracket 1 plus C maximum by C minimum as it is. If we multiply this C minimum into the bracket, we will get 1 plus C minimum by C maximum, as same as previous. Now if we multiply this C minimum by C maximum into the bracket, then we will get again 1 plus C minimum by C maximum. So this equation number 5 and equation number 4 both are equal. So the equation will remain same for both, either CC is greater than or CH is greater than, this equation will remain same. Now in this equation, the C minimum is smaller value of heat capacity, as we have discussed. C maximum is a larger value of heat capacity, and the ratio of this heat capacity C minimum by C maximum, which is a dimensionless parameter, and it is called as a heat capacity ratio, which is denoted by capital R. Okay, and UA divided by C minimum, this is also another dimensionless expression which is called as a number of turns per unit, where U is the overall heat transfer coefficient, A is the area of heat exchanger, and C minimum is a minimum heat capacity, either it is for hot fluid or cold fluid. So this ratio is known as the another dimensionless expression as a NTU, number of transfer unit. So putting these values in our equation, we will get epsilon is equal to 1 minus exponential in bracket minus, instead of UA by C minimum, here we have written NTU 1 plus C minimum by C maximum, we can write as a R, and upon 1 plus R. So this is the final equation of effectiveness for parallel flow heat exchanger. So in this session we have covered what is effectiveness for a heat exchanger and what is the equation for effectiveness for parallel flow heat exchanger. Thank you so much.